sir.
Good afternoon, Senator Avery and committee members. My name is Don Shuda. I didn't know I was following. D-O-N-S-H-U-D-A. I am the Hall County Veteran Service Officer and also the President of the County Veteran Service Officers Association of Nebraska for this year. And with that being said, the County Veteran Service Officers Association of Nebraska does also support LB935. I was asked to read a testimony provided by Pam Lancaster, Hall County Supervisor of Hall County, Nebraska. With that, I'll begin. To Senator Avery and committee members, from Pamela Lancaster, Hall County Supervisor, National Association of County Officials, Veterans and Military Affairs Committee, immediate past chairman. Nebraska Association of County Officials, past president. Nebraska Workforce Development, Greater 88 Chief Elected Officials, chairman. Thank you for allowing testimony on behalf of LB 935, introduced by Senator Mike Gore. I have served since 1998 on the Nebraska Workforce Development Board for the greater 88 counties in Nebraska. For most of those years, I have been chairman. The greater 88 has been extremely successful in bringing employers and employees together to maintain economic stability and some growth. When workforce development came into being following a federal mandate, I felt certain that these 88 counties would be successful. We have always worked together and relied on each other. That's the rural way. No doubt, with a wide range of issues and personalities, sometimes we do better than others. If today, Nebraska's way of doing business has changed and communities are encouraged to pit themselves against one another, there will be serious consequences affecting much more than the government entities put up for auction. With the governor's decision to make the Grand Island Veterans Home available to the highest bidder, he broke the trust and integrity of the state's 127-year commitment to veterans. In 1887, shortly after the Civil War, the citizens of Grand Island donated 640 acres of land to establish the Grand Island Veterans Home. It was to be available to veterans at that time in their life when they were no longer able to care for themselves. Through more than a century of personal and financial commitment, a true home has been developed with a campus consisting of not only a veterans home, but a veterans cemetery. To the west, the VFW, a shaded fishing pond, children's ball fields, and a veterans park are located to the east. Within a few blocks, the Veterans Hospital and shopping is available to those who are ambulatory. No one would have considered the fact that the executive order could change this legacy. Nebraskans, even remotely aware of the plight of the Grand Island Veterans Home, have scratched their heads wondering why. If indeed political or personal gain is the issue, it is inexcusable. Hundreds of innocent veterans and their families have been caught in the crossfire. For the communities who responded to the request for proposal from the governor, it is simply an economic development opportunity. For Grand Island, Hall County, my community, it is a deeply personal issue that spans generations. It's what we do and believe in. We care for our veterans. Isn't it in the best interest of all Nebraska communities to see that established government facilities remain where they have been cared for and flourished? In this case, have we as Nebraskans truly forgotten our commitment to making a home for our veterans, one where they are comfortable and located in a community they can count on? Isn't it in the state's best interest to see that the legislature has oversight of such large decisions, the kind that affects hundreds of lives? In this case, specifically, hundreds of our most vulnerable people are affected. Please pass LB 935 as presented out of committee so it can be openly discussed and evaluated by the entire Nebraska legislature. Thank you for your attention and for all you do in behalf of the state of Nebraska.
Thank you, Mr. Shuda. Questions from the committee? Senator Waldman.
Thank you, Chairman Avery. Thank you for coming down here.
Thank you, sir.
You still have that 640 acres, do you know? Is that all?
Yes, sir. There's been some that's been taken off the original because they had a ball field added on the north side, and I can't remember exactly the number of acres, but it's still there, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Moranti.
Thanks for coming down. Your testimony has gone down a road that and several of your predecessors went down a road that I didn't expect to hear, which is a group of Nebraskans coming before the Nebraska legislature to tell us how great we are at making decisions. That's not something we hear all that often. And thank you for it, but But it's also something that is, I represent Gretna, Nebraska, Sarpy County. And I hear all the time, my wife's from Orleans, Nebraska, and I hear all the times from Greater Nebraska, some even colleagues in this legislature, that the Nebraska legislature, you hear phrases all the time, you guys don't know that there's anything west of Lincoln, Nebraska, and you make decisions, you're just looking out for Omaha and things like that. We hear it all the time. And I'm wondering, and as a senator from Gretna, I can sympathize because sometimes we suffer from those sorts of decision-making processes. But I'm wondering if, looking at the whole scope of the decisions that the Nebraska legislature makes, do you think that having the legislature involved in these sort of processes depoliticizes it? Or are you at all concerned that decisions that we make that have adversely affected rural communities in Nebraska, numerous communities don't get any state aid, equalization aid for their schools, things like that, could come to play when it comes to these sorts of issues?
Well, you know, I'm not a politician, but
Congratulations.
But I do believe that the full legislature needs to look at issues like this. Because again, I think the issue is pitting one community against another, taking from one, giving to another, and not filling the gap in the other one, as we've heard mentioned before. And at least if this goes to the floor, which I pray it does, then at least it's given a fair process. I think everybody's had the chance to talk about it and voice their opinions on it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.